question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
What's your view on universal health care?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, since you're protesting this, doesn't it seem right to me for you to support the lives of other people? I mean, you're pro-life, right?
I'm an abolitionist, Christian abolitionist.
Yes, but you're pro-life. You're anti-abortion.
I don't believe in murdering people, no. It's God's law.
Well, it seems right to me that wouldn't you want to protest, the lack of health care that kills, 15,000 people in the United States every year, or maybe in third world countries where children are dying of diphtheria, diseases that are easily preventable? Why don't you protest that? Do you just not care, or is this the only thing that really matters?
Are you assuming that, or just asking?
No, I'm asking you.
I mean, it's one of many things I do. I work on many fronts. And
I don't see you here, saying the same thing for other children who are disadvantaged too, or killed as children. Though not on purpose by their parents, they are still killed by society. Like lack of health care. When I was a kid, I didn't have health care. If I had cancer, I would have died. How is that not, societal abortion in a way? Do you protest that too?
I mean, I protest injustice. I protest things that God hates.
Yes, but do you?
Things that our society is promoting, tolerating, and I can't.
Besides this?
Well, I protest against homosexuality because it's an abomination in God's eyes. Why you roll your eyes down? It's people die through that lifestyle. You understand that?
Yeah, more people die from people. We're not talking like AIDS in the 80s, though.
No, I had a family member die in the early 90s.
Okay,
through the
in
lifestyle.
the 90s and 80s. So.
And I speak out against suicide and against the dehumanization of women. And
well, I mean, your friend over here was dehumanizing women by saying that they shouldn't be trusted. Thank you. Wouldn't you say that? Pretty sexist.
No, we're not dehumanizing women. We're speaking out against the dehumanization of women.
I'm not saying that you are, but your friend.
Well, probably not in the sense that you understood it to be. But we dehumanize women in the womb. Little girls in the womb, and we murder them. This is the greatest injustice in our world today, in our country today. And that these children are the most needy orphans in our culture, and they're abandoned by most people.
Listen, people who, like I said, who don't have health care, they suffer and they die. And I guarantee you, I'm not saying I'm guaranteeing you don't stand outside the Capitol building and protest the fact that nobody has universal health. The people that we don't have.
Well, I'm not saying I do. I'm just saying you're making an assumption.
I am making an assumption, but I know what kind of person you are. I doubt.
No, how do you know what kind of person I am? You just started talking to me like a few minutes ago.
No, I was raised in a fundamentalist community.
I wasn't. So.
Okay, well, the kind of people who are in fundamentalist communities believe this stuff. When I was 10, my parents took me to a pro-life rally where people had these same pictures of dead fetuses.
So you're dehumanizing them by calling them a fetus. So you don't believe these are children?
Well, the scientific word, whether or not you believe in abortion is fetus.
What's that?
The scientific word, whether or not you believe it, abortion is fetus. Also, I have a question. Are you aware of the verse in Numbers that says that it's okay for abortion as long as the wife has cheated on her husband? Are you aware of that? I could read it for you. I could fully read it for you.
I'm guessing that you're probably misinterpreting it because a lot of times people misinterpret God's word.
Have you played Super Nintendo?
Then the priest shall put the woman under oath and say, if no other man has had sexual relations with you, and you have not gone astray and become impure while married to your husband, may this bitter water that brings a curse not harm you. But if you have gone astray while married to your husband, and you have made yourself impure by having sexual relations with a man other than your husband, here the priest is to put the woman under this curse. May the Lord cause you to become a curse among your people, and makes your womb miscarry and your abdomen swell. So, as long as the husband's wife did cheat on him, it's okay to give her the bitter water and induce a miscarriage.
Doesn't sound like that's what that's talking about.
Yes, it is. Literally is. Promise you.
But so do you believe that this is okay to do this to children?
Because a video game drains the mind of a person. Fills people's mind.
Listen, I don't have a strong opinion about abortion personally, but I do have an issue with you standing with these disgusting signs front of a children's museum. Do it in front of the Capitol, for God's sakes. It'll matter more.
Well, you assume it's not mattering.
What?
You assume it doesn't matter here.
Well, no,
do you know why we're here today?
It doesn't matter, but I am saying that parents who see this, I don't know if you've watched them, but they're like covering their kids' eyes.
Oh, I know.
You're making them
because they're immature. Their children can understand this, while their parents go berserk. While their parents don't care.
Children can't understand this.
They do. I know from experience.
For
do.
having abortions.
What's that?
No, the only thing they understand is that someone is dying. They don't understand the complex reasons.
They understand someone is dying and they can ask questions. And it's the adults that get upset. It's not children. Children understand that this is a great injustice. They ask, what happened to the baby? I know, because I know people, families that have children hold these signs that are 10 years younger, and their children understand this. Children can understand this. It's their parents that get upset, that have a bad reaction. It's because they know this is evil and they don't want to do anything about it.
Do you think that Plan B or birth control is just as bad?
It does result in the death of children, yes. Chemical abortions. Not always, but it does result.
Plan B, sure, but birth control, no.
Well, yeah, birth control, it does result in the death of children.
Do you understand how birth control works?
Yes, ma'am, I have studied it.
Can you explain it to me?
Well, I know there's 2 types of pills, the mini and the combination pill, and it can make when the child is conceived, when the egg and the sperm meet, and the child is conceived and travels into the uterus, it can make the lining of the uterus, the wall, inhospitable, make the uterus inhospitable to where the child cannot attach to the wall.
What about the birth control that causes, pregnancy, that gives women pregnancy hormones so that their body doesn't release an egg? Is that not equivalent to an abortion then, since it's technically not destroying the conceived egg?
Well, a human life exists at the moment of conception. If conception doesn't take place, then a human life doesn't exist, so it wouldn't be murder. Doesn't mean that it's good, but murder takes place at the moment. If you take the life of a person at the moment of conception and after, that's a murder. It's a murder of a little tiny human being, and women take that all the time. They take birth control, and they have no idea that children are dying through that process.
Just wanted to let you know. Public policy here in Wisconsin.
But this is what our culture does to children, and the new governor supports doing this to children. That's why we're here. And children can understand this. Children grow up knowing that this is evil, and some of them take action against it. They speak up against this injustice. It's often, from what I've seen, it's adults that cannot handle this. They get upset. Sometimes, probably a lot of times.
They have the capability to understand more than just a child dying.
Well, often it's because they have murdered their own child, and they get convicted about it. They haven't dealt with it truly.
I highly doubt that all the parents coming out of here are upset because they also had an abortion.
I'm not saying all, but I'm saying a lot of.
I highly doubt that most of them even.
I'm saying that a lot of adults who get really upset have murdered their own children. That's why they get so upset. And some of them they don't want to deal with this injustice because it's uncomfortable. They don't want to have to do something about it. Are you
Well, I know you're not going to change your mind, so I see.
You know why? Because God saved me. I mean, I'm very much open. I'll tell you this, because I have put this challenge before people. If anybody here, including yourself, can prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that these are not living human beings, then I will change my mind. But can you? Can anyone here prove that these are not living human beings who are murdered in the womb? If you can, then we'll stop doing what we're doing. We'll go home. But can you prove that? Can anyone here prove not only that these photos are fake, but that these are not human beings? Can you prove that? If you can, we'll put our signs away and we'll leave. We'll stop. But can you prove it? Can it be proven? I'm serious. If it can be proven that it's not a person in the womb, just like you and I, just a younger person, we'll stop doing what we're doing. We realize we've been wasting our time all this time, and we'll stop. But can this be proven that this is not a human being? I say no. And I have studied this. I did not grow up doing this. I did not grow up Christian, but the Lord showed me what was going on, and I have studied it. So I know what I'm talking about. I've researched this, and maybe you've researched it. I don't know, but I have researched documentation from secular sources, including abolitionists, to see how do I know this is true. How do I know that these are human beings? How do I know that this is murder? So I mean, and I'm open to dialogue. I'm open. If I know I'm wrong on some things, I just don't know what I'm wrong on. I don't believe this is one because I have seen no evidence supporting that these are not human beings. I've seen all evidence to the contrary, that these are human beings and that this is murder. I mean, and I encourage you and anyone else out here who disagrees with us, maybe, I mean, I know...
Personally, okay, I have an argument about that. I personally don't like this argument, but I do believe that to an extent it has merit. Without being in a woman's uterus, let's just call it a baby, won't live outside of a womb. And that's kind of the same as how, like, if a living organism, any animal you like, will have
When Madison
a parasite in its body. That shit's not gonna live if you take it out of the other organism.
Does that matter? Does that matter if the child's gonna live or die? I mean, the child has to be in the mother's womb to live.
Yeah.
So that's the way the Lord planned it, that a child would live in his or her mother's womb for a certain amount of time, and the mother would give birth to her child. So why would we if I get your argument, or what you're saying right, why would we justify the murder of a child when he or she comes out of the womb? I mean, maybe I'm getting it wrong. Well, maybe I didn't understand what you were saying or asking.
There's a difference between murdering a conscious child, it's called infanticide, and a baby in a mother's womb, a fetus, if you will, is not conscious. Does that matter? There are people today that aren't real conscious of their surroundings. Should we murder them? No.
Why?
Obviously not, because they're.
No, I'm just saying, using that same argument, then why don't we murder people outside the womb who are not conscious? They don't understand.
People pull the plug on their relatives all the time.
Yeah, and it's evil.
Yeah,
it's murder.
I'm not into that really, but
So you shouldn't be into that in the womb. Same thing. It's the same thing. I mean, I'm just saying, if you're going to base it on consciousness, there are people outside the womb that don't have much consciousness, or if any. So if we're going to justify murdering children in the womb because of that, then why not justify murdering people outside the womb because of that?
I mean, maybe this is just how I see it, but
I'm just saying we need to be consistent.
A child in the womb does not have an effect on the world around a child inside a womb doesn't have the same kind of effect on the world around it the way a adult or a child or another person has on, do you know what I'm saying? Sorry,
I think so. Well, in that case, there are also people outside the womb in wheelchairs who can't produce in society. They can't produce at all. They can't do anything. I don't like this term, but we would consider them vegetables. Like that's an awful term, but they can't see, they can't hear, they can't do anything. But we would not justify murdering them, most people. So it just comes down to, we only justify murdering people in the womb if we don't believe they're actual people. If we have to dehumanize them, we don't do that for people outside the womb. So we need to stop doing that for people inside the womb. Because it's the arguments that people use to justify murdering children, just apply that to the born and see what that sounds like. I know the state of Florida murdered Terry Schiavo 13 years ago.
Yes, no, that's like an example.
And that was pure evil.
Yes.
That was pure evil.
Yes, like my dad, for example, like he protested that.
That's good.
In Florida, yeah.
And I would have too if I was a Christian and could have gone there, because that was pure evil, and makes me sick that.
You didn't need to be a Christian to see that was wrong.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's true. I mean, you could believe anything, or people who aren't Christians could see that's evil and protest it. But just as I believe that was evil in God's eyes, because they deemed her life not worthy of living, that she had to die because she was inconvenient or she couldn't produce in society. That's how we treat the preborn. They're inconvenient, they can't produce in society, and we live in a culture that's dehumanized them. It's the same thing, just Terry Schiavo was older outside the womb. These children are younger inside the womb.
Also, it's not like they, pulled the plug and she died.
I think they actually starved her to death, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And so they tortured her to death.
They dehydrated her to death.
So they tortured her to death.
Yes, so they tortured her to death. Yeah. I mean,
we do that to children
even though
too.
That's really messed up. It's really, it's like the worst case of like right to die in probably medical history. It's awful. They shouldn't have done that. But when someone gets an abortion, they're not torturing a fetus in pain for 4 days.
Sometimes they are. Well, maybe not for 4 days, but sometimes the child. There's a type of abortion, saline abortion. I don't know if they do it anymore, where they burn the child alive. And sometimes these children will be cooking for hours. I think I've read.
I don't think that's a thing.
We torture children to death in the womb, and I don't know how long before they die, but we do it to people outside the womb. We do it to people inside the womb.
Sorry, what? Sorry.
I'm just saying that
the last sentence that you said.
That's what happens in our.
I think that's inappropriate to show in front of a kids' museum.
Well, what about this, sir? The governor supports doing this to children. That's what should be inappropriate to you. It's inappropriate that the governor supports doing this to children. But see, we live in a culture that has so dehumanized people inside the womb and even people outside the womb if you're not productive.
I don't give a shit what your political value is. This is my personal space as well, and I believe that each one of you, whether you're on the right or the left, should take your signs and not put it in front of kids.
Well, what about the governor, sir? He supports doing this to children. What about that?
Think about children.
I am thinking about children. What about these?
Think about children.
I am.
Inappropriate.
What about these children, sir? Are you thinking about these children? These children are being murdered every day, and the governor supports it. You should think about these children, sir. They're being murdered, and you don't care. Sir, watch your language. If you all care about children, stop cursing around them. Watch your language around children out here. If you all care about children, don't use foul language around them.
I have a kid, and I can say what I want. He knows about swear words, it's fine.
Well, you should stop cursing in front of him.
You know what? What you're doing is way more inappropriate than any swear words.
Based on what?
Look at this.
What morality do you have, sir?
You're bananas.
If you think we're harming children, you're harming children with your foul mouth, sir.
My foul mouth.
Yeah, you shouldn't use foul language around your child.
That nice little boy.
I know, isn't that great? Life is wonderful.
Not for the children being massacred.
Was telling me you got to be like a child to get into the kingdom of God or something. So
Yeah, there you go. They don't agree, but that's good. They should all have their own ideas and spirituality.
What does the God of the Bible say? It's what He says. It's not what I say. It's not what anyone out here says. What does the God of the Bible say?
A man with plastic bags banging near his ears cannot hear the truth.
It's because you're so stubborn. It's because you're so stubborn.
Eye of a needle.
A rich man with bags full of air cannot enter the kingdom of heaven.
That's what it was.
But you can't be saved, sir. If you'll humble yourself, if you'll stop being so stubborn and come to Jesus Christ, He can save you. He can save you from your wickedness. Okay.